Hello everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Vav, and we'll be learning today Mi'ez Hashem Daf Kuf Chav Ches Amid Beis. We are continuing to learn the halachas of the Daled Minim. We pick up today on the bottom line of Kuf Chav Ches Amid Aleph at Siman Tov Reish Nun Vav. The beginning of Siman Tov Reish Nun Vav was discussing the chiyuv of Hidur Mitzvah. How much money does somebody have to spend in order to be mahader when it comes to a mitzvah, to do the mitzvah in a nicer, more muhuderdika fashion? Today, in the second half of Siman Tov Reish Nun Vav, which is the words of the Ramah is going to be discussing not the question of spending money on Hidur mitzvah, but spending money for the mitzvah itself. Today's shir was dedicated by somebody who wants the shir, the limud Torah, to be a schus for all those that are in need of a shidduch, for those that are in need of a refuah shalema. So thank you very much to the one who sponsored this shir. Okay, so we begin on the bottom line of Kuf Chav Ches Amud Aleph. Says the Ramah, Haga, Umi she'en loy esrig. Let's say somebody simply does not have an esrig. We're not talking here about Hidur mitzvah. Somebody does not have an esrig. He needs an esrig. Oishar mitzvah iveris, or he does not have what he needs to be mekayim a different mitzvah iveris, a mitzvah that if he's not mekayim it now, he won't be able to be mekayim it. Somebody needs a pair of tefillin. If he doesn't put on tefillin today, that's a mitzvah iveris. It's true he could put on tefillin tomorrow, but he has a chiyuv to put on tefillin today. He doesn't have a pair of tefillin, that's a mitzvah iveris. How much does he have to spend in order to be able to be mekayim the mitzvah? Says the Ramah, Ein tzarich levazvez aleha hoin rav. He's not obligated to disperse a tremendous amount of wealth. A hoin rav. Okay, now we're going to have to define what does that mean. Continues the Ramah, U'kamoisha amru, this is similar to what the Chazal say in the context of tzedakah. Hamevazvez, somebody who disperses his money, al yevazvez yoser bechemish, he should not give away more than 20%, more than a fifth. Afilu mitzvah iveris, and this applies even to a mitzvah iveris. Let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is cut in Zion here on Kuf Chav Ches Amid Beis. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Hoin Rav. Person is not obligated to spend a Hoin Rav. What's a Hoin Rav? Says the Chavetz Chaim, Hine shlish min achasav, that a person should spend more than a third of his assets. Muchach beGemara, it's very clear from the Gemara Behedya, de'ein tzarich litein avor mitzvah achas. It's very clear from the Gemara in Baba Kama that a person is not mechuyev to spend a third of his wealth or more in order to be mekayim one mitzvah. How do we see this? Because the Gemara in Baba Kama, when the Chazal say that somebody should spend a third of his wealth, so the Gemara first thought that what the Gemara meant is every time a mitzvah comes your way, if you have to spend a third of your assets in order to be mekayim the mitzvah, you're chayiv to do so. And on that, the Gemara asked, how could that be? 3 mitzvahs will come up, a person will be wiped out, he won't have any money anymore, and he'll be an ani meduki, he won't have anything. So the Gemara changes it. The Gemara says it's talking about Hidur mitzvah. But it's very clear from the Gemara that the Gemara did not want to contemplate the possibility that a person is mechuyev to spend a third of his assets on being mekayim a mitzvah saseh. V'hapaiskim iskimu, the paiskim reach a conclusion, ta'afilu pachas mishlish gamkein ain't tzarich litein. So from the Gemara in Baba Kama, we see clearly that you're not mechuyev to spend a third. How about a large amount but less than a third? So the Chavetz Chaim says the paiskim reach a conclusion that even somewhat less than a third, you're not chayiv to spend. V'samchu dinoi kamay le'inyan staka. And what they did was they compared this to the obligation that a person has to give tzedakah. Sha'amru, where the Chazal said, Hamevazvez al yevazvez yoser mechemish. Somebody who's dispersing his wealth for tzedakah, he should not give more than a fifth. Why? Shema yeyani because if he'll give that amount of money, he might himself become a pauper, v'yitztarek lebrios, and then he'll have to come on to other people. And we know that ani chashiv kemes. So a person's not mechuyev to put himself into a situation of ani chashiv kemes in order to be mekayim a mitzvah. So the Chazal said, the same way, the Poskim are saying, the same way we see in the context of tzedakah, which is a chiyuv asay, that a person is not mechuyev to give more than a fifth, more than 20%, so too for any other mitzvah iveres, says the Chavetz Chaim here, v'hu adin bazeh, you're not mechuyev to give more than 20% or a fifth of your assets. So you don't have to give more than a fifth even for a mitzvah iveres. Nevertheless, says the Chavetz Chaim, you are obligated to give up at least a tenth, at least meiser, at least a tenth of your wealth. You are mechuyev to give up in order to be mekayim a mitzvah iveres. Because we find by tzedakah that the share of a beinani, when we look at a person who gives tzedakah, we say a beinani gives at least a tenth of his wealth for meiser ksafim, for tzedakah. So too for any other mitzvah iveres, up to a tenth you're chayiv to spend. Vayin b'magen Avram ve'Eliyah Rabbah. The Chavetz Chaim says, take a look at the Magen Avram and Eliyah Rabbah. The Kamoi Sham le'inyin tzedakah, that the same way by tzedakah, how do we measure the giving of a tenth, the giving of a meiser? Shana rishona min hakeren. The first year, and we'll explain what this means in a moment, you give a tenth of the principal. Mikan ve'elech min harevach. After that, you only give from the profit. Hachinami b'inyanenu, so to here, when we discussed the question of how much do you spend for a mitzvah iveres, we use the same sort of calculation. What the Chavetz Chaim means is like this. Let's say somebody goes ahead and he has a windfall. He gets $100,000 from somewhere that he didn't expect. He brings in $100,000 payment. So right away he has to give meiser. Meiser is $10,000. So he got in $100,000. He gave away $10,000 for meiser. He has $90,000 left. Now he wants to take the $90,000 and he wants to invest it into some kind of business. So he takes the $90,000, he puts it into a business. The next year, he's not chayiv to give 10% of the 90. He already gave meiser on that money. That was part of the original 100 that he got in. He gave $10,000 to cover that 90. He doesn't have to give meiser on that 90 again the following year. What he has to do is whatever profits he makes when he invests the 90, or when he opens up a business using the 90, he's going to have to give 10% from that business. Okay. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, Ayin bebir halacha sheberarnu deritzonu larmar demishir zeh bevadai also livchais. Less than that you cannot give. Aval efshir d'inyanenu du mitzvah iveres garat tvei v'chayv loitzi ad chaimish b'nechasav. So what the Chavetz Chaim has established over here so far is, he told us that you're not, like the Ramah said, you're not mechuyev to give away a hein rav. You're not mechuyev to give away a tremendous amount of wealth. The Chavetz Chaim said that means a shlish. A shlish you're not mechuyev to give away. A third of your assets you're not mechuyev to give away in order to be mekayim a mitzvah iveres. A fifth, well, we find that when it comes to tzedakah, there's already a precedent for giving away a fifth. So it could be that a fifth you are mechuyev to give away. And now he proved over here, he said a tenth you are definitely mechuyev to give away. So here we have the different levels. Meiser, to give away a tenth of your assets in order to be mekayim a mitzvah saseh, that you have to do. A third, you're definitely not mechuyev to do. The question is between a tenth and a fifth. It could be that you're mechuyev to give up to a chaimish to be mekayim a mitzvah saseh. Continues the Ramah, V'dafka mitzvah saseh, this whole discussion is only pertinent to being mekayim a mitzvah saseh. Aval loy saseh. But when it comes to the question of somebody chas v'shalom being over on a loy saseh, yitain kol memoinai kaidim sheyavar. The Ramah says a person has to give up all of his assets. A person has to give up all of his wealth before he will be over on an avera, on a loy saseh, on a lav. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut and test. Ava mitzvah loy saseh. Says the Chavetz Chaim, there's a great difference between an aseh and a loy saseh. The bitul aseh hu b'miniyam elakayim. When it comes to an asay, so we're talking about sheva al taisa. We're saying that a person passively is not going to be mekayim a mitzvah asay, but he's doing something passively. He's not actively going against the ratzon habayre. Passively, he's not being mekayim the ratzon habayre. So that is far more kuladik. We could treat that somewhat more leniently. He's not doing a maisa. He's not taking action against the ratzon habayre. Contrast this to a lav. If somebody will get up and do a maisa, a loisase, he's doing a maisa keneged the ratzon habayre. Kasav Magen Avram, the Magen Avram writes, Mashbek tzas begitten daf nun vav amad aleph. It is somewhat implied by the Gemara in Gittin nun vav amad aleph. This is one of the Gemaras that we commonly learn on Tisha B'av about the Churban. B'maisa the Bar Kamsa, the famous story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Shayamuta lavar aloisase b'bnei emos hamalchus ta'akum. There's a strong implication over there from the Gemara that we have a precedent. You could be over on a loisase out of fear of the malchus, because over there, the way the story goes, the one that was insulted at the party, what he did was he gave the recommendation to the Romans that they should send a carbon to the Beis Hamikdash, and he made it into a mum. He made the animal into a balmum. So now he said, you're going to see that they're not going to bring your carbon. You want to know what they think of you, the Yidden? You sent animals to the Beis Hamikdash to be brought as sacrifices. You're going to see that they're not going to bring it. When the animal came to the Beis Hamikdash, the Kahanim said, we should bring it on the Mizbeach anyway, even though it has a mum, because otherwise we're going to bring the wrath of the Romans down on the Yidden. So you see that they did contemplate being over a loisase because of the fear of the Malchus. But the Mishnah Berurah says, the Achrayim take issue whether or not you could really bring a raya from that Gemara. To Hasam Pikuach Nefesh Haya. Over there, we were dealing certainly with an issue of Pikuach Nefesh, so you can't bring a raya from that Gemara. Ois Katan Yud on Kuf Chav Tes Amad Aleph, Yitain Kol Mamoinai Kaidem Sheyavar. Person has to spend all of his wealth before he'll be over on a loisase. Says the Chavetz Chaim, V'afti yitztarech al yidei zeh achar kach lachzar al hapsachim. Even though now, by spending all of his money, this person is going to become a beggar. He's going to become an ani that's going to have to go around begging. Lo nuchal lahater al yidei zeh isurei Torah. Says the Chavetz Chaim, there's nothing you could do about it. You can't be over on isurei Torah. You can't be over on a lav biodayim, on bekum va'aseh, because you're going to be a beggar. There's no choice. You have to become a beggar. Says the Chavetz Chaim, this is true even by, so to speak, a regular Isser Lav. Certainly, if we're talking about an Isser Chamur, something that somebody would be Chayv Krisus, Chayv Kares, if he would be over, then certainly you have to give up all of your money. Kigoyin, for example, says the Chavetz Chaim, Sheina yochel lahasig eze mishmeres laharviach. We know well from these stories, somebody who can't get a job, im loisha misratza lechal ala Shabbos, unless he will agree to be mechal Shabbos, v'lasis by malacha kishar payalim, and to do work on Shabbos like all the other workers would do any other day. Also loy l'shmaya lahem. He's definitely forbidden to listen to this and to go take the job and be Mechal Shabbos. Even though he needs this to support himself and to support his family. Doesn't matter. He can't be Mechal Shabbos in order to go take a job. You're not over on an Isser Krisus and bring yourself into to be Chayiv Kares, because you can't get a job in order to be marviach, in order to make money. There's a Dirshu footnote here on Kuf Chav Ches Amid Beis. Footnote number 12. We said that somebody, when it comes to being Mekayim a mitzvah saseh, he should not give more than a fifth of his assets, because it could be that he will be Yitztarech Lebrios. We don't want to turn him into an ani. So he brings down over here, Misha who Asher Muflag. Let's say somebody is truly wealthy. Right? We're talking about a Rockefeller. Somebody who's really, really wealthy, a billionaire. Somebody's a billionaire. Afib Yavazvis Yosef B'chaimish, a billionaire could give away more than 20% of his assets. Ein chash sheyayoni. There's no chash, there's no concern that he's going to become an ani. Somebody's worth $1 billion, he could easily give away $250 million. He can give away a quarter of his assets. He can give away $500 million. He can give away 50% of his assets. And there's no risk that he's going to become an ani. So, Kasa B'Sifrei Avas Chesed, the Chofetz Chaim writes in the Avas Chesed, Shemash B'Shaloy Alav Hoisa HaTakana Shalal Yavazviz Yosef B'Chaimish, the Takanas Chazal, that you don't give away more than a fifth because you might become an ani, certainly doesn't apply to such a person. The Rishivas Atzal Rav Moshe said the same thing. That rule that you don't give away more than a fifth certainly does not apply to somebody who is so wealthy. Sheken mashmais divrei HaShulchan Aruch she'emu asher gadol she'af lacha she'yitin laniyim kol tzarchem yishar adayin ba'ishrei. If you have somebody who, even if he will give all the aniyim whatever they need, and he'll spend way more than a fifth, he still will be a very wealthy man. Ein boydin shel shir chaimish. Then the rule of not giving more than a chaimish does not apply to him. El tzarech lase says kol tzarech aniyim. He should give the aniyim everything that they need. Afilu kishezeh yosem chaimish, even though that's going to be more than a fifth of his assets. Ach kosav shebedivrei Rambam mashma she'ein sevrikain. Rav Moshe does say it sounds like the Rambam doesn't hold that way. Okay, very, very short share today. I don't remember a share that was that short. So we'll see. If I can, I would like to try to do another page yet today. If I do that, then we will be up to the Dirshu schedule. So it's certainly very tempting. Let me see how the rest of the day goes. Okay, thank you so much for joining me for Leaving Out Torah. The schus of Leaving Out Torah should be Megan and Gans Klal Yisrael. The Rebbe should say Yeshua's for us, Parnasit Shidduchim to all those in need, and we should be zeichet to see the B'Yizkal Tzedek B'Meher V'Yameinu Amen. Be well.